Hi, I'm Erik Voss, and Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald released its final trailer. And of course, it's one of those insane supercutty trailers that bombards us with blink-length frames of things we don't understand. Makes my job so fun. Let's go through this frame by frame to try to explain all the stuff that you missed, and spoiler warning in case you don't want to know. So as always, this is just a highlighter, but whatever. Revelio!
An address. What's that? A safe house in Paris.
Why would I need a safe house in Paris?
Should things at some point go terribly wrong, it's good to have a place to go. You know, for a cup of tea.
Okay, this trailer opens with a magic of a different kind. Practical sleight of hand. So clever. We saw Newt holding the same card from Dumbledore in the last trailer. Now we know it's an address for a safe house in Paris. I'm assuming it's the home address of Nicholas Flamel. Notice the glowing symbol on this card. In the last trailer, Dumbledore tapped that card. I assume that symbol disappeared when he did that. Kind of like that Obscuro spell that was used on the Marauders map. This symbol's color is gold. The same substance, Flamel's Philosopher Stone, can turn any metal into, and it has a circular shape at the bottom, kind of the symbol of the Resurrection Stone, one of the Deathly Hallows, which, like the Philosopher's Stone, is one of those nifty things that helps you overcome death. I also like that Dumbledore suggests this would be a place for a cup of tea. Flamel's Philosopher's Stone would be used to brew the elixir of life, which is a substance you drink to become immortal. So I would definitely take up this guy on that cup of tea, Newt. Let's move on.
My brothers, my sisters, the clock is ticking faster. My dream, we who live for truth, for love.
In this clip, we hear Gellert Grindelwald's speech, which is actually the same speech Johnny Depp delivered to that audience at Comic-Con. It's interesting that he tells his followers that they are the ones who live for truth and love. He's referring to the idea that wizards shouldn't live in the shadows, that they should be truthful and honest about their actual superiority over the Muggle race. Now, I'm sure part of his argument will be based on the recent Muggle Great War that just tore Europe apart. He could point to that and say Muggles are all about hate. But this kind of doublespeak actually evokes author George Orwell, who wrote 1984. In that book, the Ministry of Truth and the Ministry of Love were actually ministries responsible for the opposite of those values. Ministry of Truth spread lies and propaganda and fake news history, and the Ministry of Love tortured people. So if you look at it that way, yeah, Gellert Grindelwald and his people might be all about truth and love. We also see the beginnings of Grindelwald's escape from Mecusa in New York, from that nighttime carriage thestral flight. And as he waits in his cell, you can see a fly buzzing toward him, triggering these enchantments that surround him to keep him from escaping. And before we move on, we get another shot of Tina Goldstein and that enchanted statue in Paris. Now, I've said that this could lead to the French Ministry of Magic, but I could also see that being the secret entrance to the Parisian Diagon Alley. Let me know what you think, but let's move on.
Nagini, the moment has come to take our rightful place.
Okay, here is the biggest reveal of this trailer. Confirmation of the theory that's been floating around online for months, that Claudia Kim's character, afflicted with a maledictus curse, transforming her gradually into a snake, is actually Nagini, the snake who later becomes one of Voldemort's horcruxes. When asked about this on Twitter, J.K. Rowling claims she knew about this backstory for 20 years. And before any of you start overthinking this and wondering, wait, does this mean Neville Longbottom murdered a woman? Did Rowling just rewrite everything I hold sacred? Relax. A maledictus curse is not the same thing as an animagus, which is a wizard that can shapeshift into an animal at will. Remember, like Sirius Black. I think we can assume that by the time the human Nagini turns into Snake Nagini, she stays that way. She becomes an animal, and she has a whole other animal life beyond this. And considering the modern day Harry Potter is more than a couple generations in the future, I'm assuming some kind of magic makes her more than just a normal snake too. So really, there's no reason to doubt that she later somehow ends up in Albania, where according to the current backstory, Voldemort finds her, later turning the animal into a horcrux. Hopefully that cleared some stuff up. On to the next clip.
In the world where we wizards were free. Join me or die.
Okay, here we get more shots of Grindelwald's daring escape from custody, and we actually get some clues of how he pulls it off. Now check out this dude, aiding and abetting. It's hard to tell, but judging from that dark hair, I'm thinking this could be Abernathy, the Mecusa Auror from the first Fantastic Beasts. He could be a covert disciple of Grindelwald, or maybe he's just under the Imperius curse. He would have access to Grindelwald's wand, which would have gotten confiscated, and perhaps he's using it here to free this captive, or maybe return it to Grindelwald, so Grindelwald can wipe out all these Auror escorts. Oof. Ow, not cool. Let's move on.
The wizarding and non-wizarding worlds have been at peace for over a century. Grindelwald wants to see that peace destroyed.
You want me to hunt him down?
Okay, this section brings us back to Hogwarts with a shot of Leta Lestrange reminiscing in the Great Hall of the school. Now notice the floating candles. That's probably a throwback to the candles in the very first Harry Potter movie. Back in those days, the candles were actually real practical effect. These are CGI, but whatever, it makes you feel something about the past, so it's good. We get another shot of Grindelwald surrounded by the blue flame in his Colosseum, flanked by Vinda Razier. She's holding that skull I pointed out before. I actually think that could be the skull of Salazar Slytherin himself. Remember, that was the same head that provided Tom Riddle with the inspiration for the Death Eater symbol. We see a mountainside exploding. That could be set in the Pyrenees. I just think that because that's the mountain range on the border of France and Spain, where the French wizarding school Beauxbatons is located. Or it could be a mountain range in Bavaria, near where Grindelwald's fortress Nurmgard is supposed to be located. Also, interesting details of the voiceover we're hearing here, saying that the wizarding and non-wizarding worlds have been at peace for over a century. That means wizards and muggles were at war 100 years before this. That would place it sometime early in the 19th century. There was a few important things going on in European history at that time. There was Napoleonic Wars, but also there was the Industrial Revolution, where new technology was replacing agrarian economies with machines and factories. Just a theory here, maybe a consequence of this Muggle-wizard war in the past was wizards granting muggles forms of technology that allowed their society to take great strides forward, and then eventually engineer bombs and weapons to destroy themselves in the First World War. All connected. But we also see this shot of Tina dealing with this fantastic beast that escaped from the Circus Arcanus. According to Rowling, this is something called a Zuwu, a beast from Chinese mythology that's an elephant-sized cat with 5 colors. We see this thing show up again later in the trailer. We also again see these black cloths blanketing Paris. Past I speculated that these could be lethifolds, or people-consuming beasts that have to be warded off with a Patronus charm. But I'm thinking they actually might be something else. More on that theory later. And before we move on, we see Newt here being tasked with hunting down Grindelwald. Now, based on the wall tiles behind him, that is definitely the British Ministry of Magic. I assume he's arguing with his brother Theseus here. Moving on.
To kill him. Dumbledore, why can't you go?
I cannot move against Grindelwald. It has to be you.
In this section, we see Newt and Tina happening upon this underground lair where someone, perhaps people speculated, Yusuf Kama, has been piecing together the wizard family tree that we saw in past footage. And again, if you look at that family tree closely, it appears that Leta Lestrange and Credence Barebones are related. Then there's this interesting shot of Queenie reaching out to this bird imprint. I'm not sure what this means, but I have a feeling it is connected to Leta Lestrange, only because there were some posters that were just released for all the characters, and Leta's had a similar bird symbol in the corner of it. This bird actually comes up later in the trailer. Hold on to your butts. And there's a quick shot of Nicholas Flamel, apparently present at the same big showdown setting with blue flames that we've seen other characters in. And then another shot of Dumbledore seeing Grindelwald in the Mirror of Erised, which I also went into in the last breakdown, but check this out. We briefly see the younger versions of the men, and Albus and Gellert are played by these same actors that played the young men in Deathly Hallows. So I'm thinking if these actors are involved, I could see this movie revealing the flashback of what exactly went down with Dumbledore's sister, Ariana. We will see. Moving on.
You don't suffer from motion sickness, do you?
I don't do well on boats.
You'll be fine.
Do you know why I admire you, Newt? You do not seek power. You simply ask, is the thing right?
Here it appears as though Newt and Jacob are using this bucket maybe as a port key. Notice how that cliffside is white colored. This could be taking place at Dover, which is right across the English Channel from France. You can actually see it from Dover. So maybe this exact point is kind of a point of entry for wizards between the two countries. Next we see Newt using some kind of powder to conjure this image of another beast. Now to me this looks like a kappa, which is a Japanese water demon that actually came up in the earlier films. And it's one of the attractions at the Circus Arcanus. A kappa feeds off human blood, but you can appease it by tossing it a cucumber inscribed with your name, or you can trick it into bowing and spilling the water in its head. That'll apparently weaken it. Wizard things! Then there's that dude in the hat whom we've seen chasing Credence past trailers. Perhaps this is the Spielman character. Whoever it is, he's cramming himself into a wall, which I assume is what it looks like when kids try to force their way into that column between platforms 9 and 10 at King's Cross. I want to believe! And speaking of creepy walls, Nagini touches a wall and has another hand Stranger Things through and grab her. But look at that wallpaper. It's a flower, but the stem forms a V shape. Wondering if this is the crest for Vinda Rosier, with a V and a rose. I guess rose petals don't really look like that. Look, I'm trying, okay? And we see Newt calming the Zuwu with a fluffy play toy at the end of his wand, Pickett ruining Newt's coat, and then a shot of Newt emerging from a suitcase to find Tina. Now notice the setting here. The flasks, the multiple globes. Yes, this is the home of Nicholas Flamel. Tina appears to be reading through Nicky Flame's notes. Previously, I've speculated this movie could be a sort of race to immortality. One side collecting Hallows, the other side crazy old alchemist's magic rock. Even if this movie isn't that, I would very much like to see that movie. Moving on.
The time's coming when you're gonna have to pick a side.
No, I don't do sides.
What are you gonna do?
I think it's something.
Here, after some shots of Newt riding a Kelpie, there's this interesting shot of him looking up at some warplanes in a dogfight over bombed out rubble. Notice how this battle almost looks like it's being seen through a gray filter. So I'm wondering if those black cloths that covered the city aren't lethifolds. What if there's some kind of magical enchantment protecting the wizard world of Paris from the war and destruction of the Muggle world up above? Like maybe these blankets come down whenever there's an air raid. I guess to be clear, this movie is set in 1927, which is really between world wars, not during, but this would be a very cool way to justify how the wizarding world was able to stay out of the human wars that ravaged the European cities. Next, there's this crazy shot of some kind of portal opening in the French ministry. This could be one of the abilities of the Zuwu, which you can see with his mane all illuminated there. And if you look closely, he's being pursued by the maledictus. Those are the black cat-like creatures used by the French ministry that we saw in the last trailer. And as Newt tells his brother Theseus, "Oh, don't do sides." There's a quick shot of Hogwarts students running around the corner of the grounds, and you can see the Quidditch pitch in the background. Maybe this is part of the flashback revealing the incident that caused Newt's expulsion. Then there's a shot of Newt and Tina apparently having snuck into this Colosseum location with Grindelwald's followers. And look at those statues. To me, those look like tombs. Atop each one is a giant bird. Actually looks a lot like the bird Queenie was looking at earlier. Don't know what this means, only that it could be connected. Moving on.
Newt, you never met a monster you couldn't love.
Let's take him.
Okay, there's a lot of stuff to look at here. First, we know that there's going to be some kind of showdown moment in Grindelwald's Colosseum with all the key players there. Newt, Tina, Lita, Grindelwald, Vinda, Credence, Nagini, and Theseus. Maybe also Nicky Flame. We see images of the Scamander brothers together fighting off Grindelwald's blue flame, which I speculated before could be Fiendfire, with their own fire spell. There's also a shot of these windows being bashed out. Notice the mountainous background. I'm thinking this could be the interior angle of the cliffside explosion that we saw earlier. This could be some kind of hidden magical structure in a mountain range. There's also Dumbledore in his classroom, perhaps subduing whatever fantastic beast the boggart turned itself into after Newt ridiculoused his greatest fear of desk work. By the way, there's no way all those students are the same year. Why are they in the same class? What's going on? Okay, I'm becoming the cynic that I hate. Let's move on to the final clip.
That's your brother?
I think that might have been the best moment of my life.
We get this movie's title, with the smoke once again forming the shape of the Deathly Hallows, with the Deathly Hallows also hidden in the letters of the title. Neato! And all plays under a very Avengers-y arrangement of the Harry Potter theme, because epic, I guess. The final clip shows Tina subduing Theseus in the French ministry, to Newt's delight. And if you look closely, you can actually see her blocking an attack from Theseus from behind. He tries to launch a pile of suitcases at them as they run, but she is just too fast. A question for you guys about this trailer. Would you have preferred Nagini's reveal being saved for the movie, or does knowing it ahead of time get you more excited to see it? Comment down below with your thoughts, and follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Erik Voss. And if you love Harry Potter and you happen to live in the LA area, you should come check out my live parody show called Infinity Fan, where I joke about Harry Potter, but also Marvel, Star Wars, Game of Thrones, everything you could possibly be a fan of. There will be time turners in this show, so you know it's gonna be crazy. Show details and ticket info are in the description below. And subscribe to New Rockstars for more deep dives into all the stuff that you love. Mischief managed. No, it's just a mischief highlighted. Highlight it? Thanks.